Last up on the hot seat for the College Lacrosse Preview Show today, he is the head coach at the Naval Academy. It's a pleasure to welcome back in Coach Joe Amplo, who is with us now here on GCR. Coach, it's Glenn and Patrick Stevens. It's always great to chat with you. Thank you for taking the time for us.
What's up, guys? You sound nice and toasty in that studio over there.
Yeah, not so bad inside. I know it's not, it's been a theme throughout the course of the morning, Coach, and I'll let you share, because Charlie brought up that you guys have been having conversations about what might be strategies for addressing this, but I've just sort of grown used to it. This is what we do. Everybody thinks it's crazy that lacrosse is played this time of year, but we've been doing it for so long that I just feel like this is the way it's going to go. But we've heard from a couple of coaches this morning who really sense that the conversation is shifting. Do you feel a shift in the conversation about what the schedule ends up looking like?
Yeah, I do. I think, we've got to use common sense. And, as the leaders of our programs, we're responsible for the health and safety, first and foremost, of our student athletes, and then their experience. And you've got a long season to prepare for. So to do something that is unsafe and play a game this weekend in the conditions, I think we got to really think long and hard about the impact that might potentially have, and get past our egos a little bit, and the fact that we want to try and be, really tough and just really make a good decision for the betterment of our student athletes. So it's a moving target. We'll make a better decision probably later on today about this weekend.
Well, just in the bigger picture, what do you think an ideal schedule for a season would be, in terms of a start time?
Yeah, Patrick, I would not be opposed to us as coaches saying that there's a universal start date sometime later in February, potentially a start date for practice close to February 1st. And then that would force us as coaches to go back to the model of some midweek games or conferences saying, look, here's a travel partner scenario, and you're going to play a few weekends of Friday, Sunday. I think if it's a level playing field and everybody is forced into that situation, it makes it a heck of a lot easier because then you're looking at your opponents and they're in the same situation where you're not playing a midweek game and then playing a Saturday, or you're playing a Friday, Sunday, and your opponent is not. If we're all in this box of here's the window of weeks that you have to play, you want to try and get your 17 contests in, but you've got to do it in this amount of time, then it takes out that model that we've kind of been pushed to, which is the weekly model. I mean, 15, 20 years ago, there were multiple games a week. I can go back to my playing days. We didn't play until March, and we got 14 games in. Everybody was healthy, and the experience from a student athlete perspective, from a fan's perspective, was much better. So I think there'll be some more discussions. It's easier to say that this time of year because we're kind of forcing us to think about that with the weather. But I think the coaches kind of have to get out of our own way and really think long and hard about the betterment of the sport and ultimately the student athletes and what their experience should be.
It's very interesting, and obviously Charlie brought up that travel partner thing too, which of course makes sense that you and he would be talking about it because you guys would be the travel partners clearly in the league. I don't know if maybe the Big Ten, the ACC, a little bit more geographically kind of split up might make it more difficult, but it sounds really smart to me. It does. It really sounds like the best way to address these things. Coach, speaking of betterment, right, I think as we look at your you guys have been right there. And Patrick, I think, was describing it earlier, like a game or two of inflection that sort of determined the season the last couple of years. How does this group take that next step between being a good team, which you've obviously been, in a program that's regularly competitive, to being a team that's ready to go win the Patriot League this year?
Yeah, I appreciate the positive comment that we've been good, and I feel like we have been good and almost there. We've struggled with some consistency, and that's mostly on the way we've operated from a staff perspective. I think we've shifted some things. We've been unlucky with some of our health the past couple of years, but every team's going to deal with that. And we've got to find a way to be more consistent through the year. And I'm hoping that this year is that. I think we're a little bit older. The entire team is ours, and they've been in our culture now for quite some time. So they know how we operate. And, I just heard Coach Ryan say that his team is player led. It's the same thing here. I feel that. I feel like there's a sense of empowerment for our group, and they're really taking responsibility and ownership for how we want to perform and operate on a daily basis. And you hope that that lends to a more consistent product on the field. And that's really what we're chasing, is that consistency, because we've shown that we can compete with any team on our schedule and have a chance to win those games. But then there's been moments where we haven't performed our best. So we're really trying to focus on one day at a time and being the best we can be more consistently. And like we try and say here, we just want to try and stack days together. We got to try and do that as much as we can.
Joe, it seems like you guys have had at least one dominant defenseman ever since you've been in Annapolis, and A.J. Marsh certainly qualifies as that. Just preseason Patriot League Player of the Year, what do you think he's capable of as he heads into this season?
I mean, he's capable of pretty much anything the sport will throw at him. He's a very good talent. He's a great kid. He's perfect for this place and who he is as a human being. And he changes the way we play. You know, he's got the ability to give us some freedom to be more aggressive, not only on the defensive side, but more impactful, on the offensive side. He gets up and out. He shows us the way to play in transition. He's a threat on the offensive end. He plays this old school kind of joyful mentality where the way the game was meant to be played, fast and aggressive. And I think it's a fun brand. And AJ has shown us that. He's taught us some things just by his talent kind of showcasing itself. So, he's really turned himself into a better defender. I think that's the thing he had to learn at this level, is how to play defense, one-on-one defense, but also how he fits into the team defense. And that's really where I've seen him improve over the past few months. So I'm proud of him for that.
I wanted to ask about another defender who's maybe not the star type of player, but I know that the number 40 matters a lot at the Naval Academy and the Navy Lacrosse. And can you tell me a little bit about Sam Muir and why his teammates wanted him to be the one wearing that jersey this season?
Yeah, and I'm proud of our entire team because the vote for that was extremely close, and I think that's just a sign of how important the culture is to this place, and really how Brendan's impact has made an impact on our entire team, because it's awarded for Brendan Looney. And I think that's the most proud thing for me, is that each time we do vote for it, especially the past couple of years, it's been a very close vote. But Sam specifically, he's a kid that's just shown up every single moment since he's been here and executed every role we've given him. He works hard. He is the perfect teammate. One great story I shared when we awarded it 2 weeks ago, when we had camp here late one night over the summer a few years back. It had to be close to midnight after I got back to the office, and I see this large figure throwing a ball against the wall of a building, and I rolled up on the golf cart, and it was Sam Muir. And character is revealed when nobody is watching. And Sam had no idea that anybody was even on the yard. And he was just out there trying to improve his craft in the time that he had to do it. And that's who Sam is. Sam has been that way every single day. He's consistent in that. And he's the perfect person to wear number 40 this year for us.
Joe, Dan Daly heads into his third year as a starter for you guys in the cage. And I know experience matters so much at that position, but what do you think he's capable of in his senior year, and how important is he for you guys to get to where you want to get to?
He's been very consistent since going back to his plebe year here, and I think for him, he's poised to have a breakout season. I think there's some really good goalies in our league, and he should be talked about in the same sentence as those guys. I do believe he can be a big backstop for us and perform at an All-American level. I would not be surprised if he does that. He's got to be a little bit more consistent. I think he's improved in his clearing game, which has been kind of a thorn in his side early in his career. But now he has full handle of the clearing strategies and is a leader, certainly between the pipes and for our defense. But I would not be surprised if people are talking about him throughout the season as one of the better goalies in the country.
Joe Amplo, Navy lacrosse coach, with us here on GCR. I guess let's stay at the specialist department and getting Zach Hayashi back this season. I almost see like the smile kind of already on your face just when we bring up his name.
Oh, he's the best. I mean, what a great kid. We could have given him number 40 the first day he walked on campus. That's the type of human being he is. But he is the ultimate competitor. Everybody who watches him sees it, but more importantly, they feel it. They truly feel the competitiveness come through this kid's veins. And he's like, sometimes we've got to calm him down a little bit. That's our biggest challenge. But he had a good summer with Team USA. I think that was a really good experience for him. And also being around some other college coaches and Coach Nadalin and Coach Ghilardi and Coach Busick and those guys who ran that ship, I think was a good experience for him to feel that and be a part of the world's best at his age. But he's a guy that is a leader and just an ultra competitive human being.
Bring back your top two scorers from last season, Mac Haley and Jack Ponzio, 43 points for Haley, 31 for Ponzio. How important is it to have that kind of an offensive foundation as you look to make a push towards a Patriot League title this year?
It's a scorer's game now. The defense doesn't win the championships anymore. You got to score to win. And I think having some seasoned guys, Max specifically, has been a 4-year starter for us, captain of our team. He's playing like a senior, has had a great preseason against some really good competition. Has been productive in every time we've been out. And he's taking that personally. He wants to have a great year and wants to be the guy that teams key on. And I think he can handle it, And I think the more important point is this is the first year now in almost 5 years where it's the second year with an offensive coordinator, with Kenny Brochard. And my hope is that helps with the consistency, that the system's in place. Kenny knows our players and this place, more importantly, really well. And the hope is that with year 2 of him and our guys, the relationships, the system, that we can show a little bit more consistency on the offensive end.
Joe, I know you all hosted scrimmages last week. Is there anyone that, between the fall and the spring, that's particularly stepped up to you and said, this is a kid who's ready to, we've seen him against the top competition. He's ready to really step up in playing time and contributions going into this year?
Yeah, there's 2 guys, one on each end. I think Nick Galini is a kid from St. Mary's High School, was very highly touted coming out of St. Mary's and struggled with injury here the first couple of years and battled through that. He's had a terrific preseason, really, really good preseason. And he's, knock on wood here, he's healthy and he's back to what we expect in terms of his potential production. And then defensively, Josh Nagy is a kid from Calvert Hall, who I remember watching him and BK over at Calvert Hall, and I agreed that he's probably one of the best athletes this sport had seen at that time. And he's taking on this personality that he wants to be great. He wants to be one of the best short sticks in the country. I think he's capable of that. If he can stay healthy and continue to rise to the occasion like he has, I think he's going to show a lot of people that he should be talked about as one of the best players at his position in the country.
Coach, I do have to ask, having your daughter around, right? Like having Sophia, and I saw the video of her. Did she get to sing the national anthem? What has that meant to you as a dad, and to be able to share moments like that?
It's going too quick, Glenn. It really is. The fact that she's a second class and her time is coming to almost an end here is amazing. I'm so proud of her, and I've got a chance to live that experience from a different perspective, and it's given me a tremendous amount of empathy for our students, because I know now firsthand what they're going through, and also the parents, from the start of that process, her applying and getting admitted and then going through the entire journey to this point has allowed me to see that perspective, which I think has helped me really appreciate the ups and downs physically and emotionally that these young men and women do go through.
That's cool. It's cool, and happy that you get to have those moments with her, and obviously the pride that you must have in what she's doing is really incredible. Coach Joe Amplo, Navy, again, everything I think is TBD this weekend. I think is the best way that we can possibly describe it, given the fact that there's more weather in the forecast. But hopefully starting the season against High Point this weekend. Coach, we'll be checking in as the season goes on. Appreciate you as always for joining us, and best of luck.
Thanks, guys.